So I got a story to tell. I want to tell you about the first time I was ever placed in handcuffs. No, I wasn't arrested. I was a juvenile. I was 13 years old, and I was made to do something that no child should be made to do. My stepfather, R.E. Kennedy, used to traffic narcotics. This appellate court case is going to come in real handy. Here's some quotes. There were several occasions where my stepfather would, what I thought was some special time together, where he would take me to do transfers, if you will. I guess it looks good to smuggle cocaine or whatever he was smuggling when you got a kid with you.
Child abuse and trauma don't always show up as bruises. Sometimes the signs are subtle and they may be physical.
It would just be me and him. It was never kind. It was never a enjoyable experience for me, but I was always with him. He didn't have a job, so he was always at home. And during the summer, during the winter, he just was always at home. But he did make trips, right? He'd fly out, be gone, and then come back. Well, on one occasion, he flew out and he came back and he lost his bags. He had suitcases. I guess he lost them. He was calling. I watched him just be frantic, calling and checking on his bags all day. And they finally told him, you know, hey, your bags have arrived. I guess they got lost, shipped to another airport. I know now, which we're going to discuss in this appellate opinion, what actually happened. So he's calling, and then finally we get the call. He gets the call that his bags are ready and his bags have arrived and they can be picked up. So he tells me, get in the car. Me and my little brother and my cousin who was visiting us for the summer, he says, yo, get in the car. We're going to get my bags from the Miami International Airport. So we go to the airport, we park. He has me go in with him and the other two boys stay in the car. We walk into the airport. We're in the baggage terminal, like baggage claim area. And there's all these folks walking around. There's construction workers, there's men in business suits, but it's all men. I didn't see any women. I remember I didn't notice any women, but they were all just kind of mulling around, right? And we go to the, whatever airline it was, we go to their little claim area. And the person behind the counter, I specifically remember them asking him like 3 or 4 times. They're like, are these your bags? And he's looking at him, he's like, yes, those are my bags. And they ask him again, are these your bags? He's like, yes, those are my bags. He does the sign off, whatever. And he tells me to grab the bags. As was typical in my household, I did all the heavy lifting for anything. And I grabbed the 2 bags. We walk out a little area where you can collect your bags, a little business area. We walk into the baggage claim area, and soon as we get out into probably the middle of the area, all the folks that were just mulling around, the construction workers, businessmen, people in shorts, all that stuff, they surround us, big circle. Even as a child, I was pretty stoic, meaning I didn't really falter a lot. I didn't panic when things happened. Maybe that's from years of abuse and all that, but they took sick pleasure in coming up with new ways to torture me, ways to affect my mind. They thought it was funny. They loved humiliation.
Things like repeated accidents after toilet training, unexplained injuries, frequent headaches or stomach aches, wearing extra clothes, even when it's hot outside.
They would dress me up like a woman, like a girl, take pictures, video, whatever they could do to make it funny. They liked humiliating me in front of my family, in front of my friends, making me drink nail polish for shits and giggles, drowning me to try to extinguish my light. Oh, and the mental torture, man, that was rough. The worst kind of mental torture I'd go through at their hands was the torturing of my animals, my pets. They'd buy me a pet and then torture it. I'd come home, it'd be dead. Yeah, the mental torture was tough. I never really got flustered. I still don't get flustered when a situation happens. Something happens, something needs to be dealt with or handled. I know how to think through it and act, right? So they surround us. And these folks are, they are on him. They immediately put me in handcuffs, him in handcuffs, and they're like, what's in the bags? What's in the bags? Open the bags. He's like, I'm not opening the bag. I don't know what's in the bag, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember everything that was said. I was just standing there in handcuffs. He says, "Take the cuffs off my son. Take those cuffs off my son." And in that moment, I remember feeling just a tinge of love. Just a tinge, a small piece. It's the first time this dude has ever called me his son. He usually called me stupid. That was what I thought my name was for a long time, because it was always stupid.
Or sudden changes in sleep and appetite. Any one of these by itself may not prove abuse, but when patterns emerge or they come with changes in mood and behavior, they can be powerful red flags.
Likely has something to do with my passion for education and reading, because I'm just trying to prove to my younger self that I am not stupid. I know I'm not now, but I'm just saying it was a catalyst for a lot of my education and my fascination with learning. So that's a positive from that. The first time he called me his son, and it was, "Take those handcuffs off my son." We walk out of the airport, we're let out in handcuffs. I'm led to the vehicle where my brother and my cousin are, and this white, I guess, DEA agent gets in the truck. We're sitting in the car and we're watching as my stepfather's walked across. Perp walk, he's screaming and yelling. They took his hat off because he was balding and he always wore this stupid little hat. Fidel Castro looking hat, but they took his hat off, and my brother's crying, my cousin's crying, I'm not. They take us to the station, I guess, and me and the boys were out in the waiting area, and I assume they got him back there, and we're there for hours. I mean, they gave us some cards, they gave us some toys, the boys, they're playing, and I'm just sitting there watching them kind of thing. And we finally get to go home, but we're taken home by the DEA agents. And we get home and they hit my mother. She was home, frantic, of course. She would say that what I'm doing right now is being very angry and very bad. I'm being too aggressive. I'm being angry. And then if she had the chance, she'd probably smack me. Because as a kid, she always smacked me, just for no reason sometimes. She told me one time it was my face. My face would make her slap me. Whether I was in a car seat, the back seat, or the front seat, I could always expect that hand to come. My cousins knew about it too. It became a joke to all of us. It was a joke that I'd just get the fire smacked out of me. It was a joke. They hit her with a search warrant, and they come in the house. We're required to sit in the living room area, and we have to stay in there. They just going through the house, man, everywhere. They turning this house upside down, and they go in the bedroom. She runs into the bedroom, and I'm going after her to try to stop her. And we get to the bedroom, and they see her, and they're screaming and yelling, but I see them pulling stacks of cash out of the attic in their bathroom. They had an attic access, and they're pulling stacks of cash out. So they leave, take whatever, and it's just us there. And then the threats come. My stepfather now, he's still at the station, and the threats start coming. I mean, they flowing in, and the alarm system's going off, phone keeps ringing. My mother's freaking out. I can tell something's wrong. And I knew he was a drug dealer. I knew he was a drug dealer from a long time ago. You know, I just didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know how much of a drug dealer he was, and I didn't know it was that bad to do it at that time. I didn't understand it at that young age. At one point, the alarm went off in the house. We didn't have nobody around, but the alarm just went off. Ran into their bedroom because I knew where they kept their gun, little revolver, probably 45. Grabbed it. 13 years old, I'm ready to strap up and protect the family, right? My mother got mad at me, of course, like she always does, and took the weapon out of my hand. But that's what you have to do, is protect yourself. I never saw his conviction. I knew he did time. He came home not long after that, probably the next day or so, and of course he looked terrible. And then from then on, as long as we lived in Miami, anytime we went somewhere, man, we would bend the block so many times. We'd turn, we'd go to different places. It'd take us an hour just to get down the street because we'd be going down side roads. I guess people were following us, I don't know. But it was a terrible situation to be in. Come to find out, I think he snitched on him. He only got like 10 years, but I think he snitched on all them cats, and that's what got him caught up. He got a sweet deal. He got 10 years as opposed to what he actually had. So what he had in those bags that he had me carrying from the appellate court case. There was 2 suitcases. The blue suitcase contained $176,000 in 1993 money. The black suitcase contained 17 kilos of cocaine and 77 grams of cocaine base. So basically I was carrying and trafficking narcotics. How many times I'd been involved in that, I don't recall, but I know I used to go with him to different locations with bags and meet people and then go away kind of thing. That search they did on our house, they pulled out $225,000 in cash, and that's 1993 money, so that's a lot of money. It's the United States of America versus R.E. Kennedy in the 6th Circuit in 1995. What was funny about this case was they actually talked about what happened. Basically what happened was his suitcases got lost. And there was another occasion where we flew to New York and his suitcases were misplaced. We walked around LaGuardia as a family and he was opening doors, looking in, seeing what people were doing with suitcases, and he was very concerned, but he didn't get arrested that time, or at least nothing came of it. But basically he appealed the search of his bags, and that's how he got to this appellate court case. His bags got sent to Washington, D.C. while he arrived in Miami, and they finally got his bags in Miami. That's when they called him, but they had already searched the bags before it left Washington, D.C. So I'll just read you this part of it. It says, shortly thereafter, Northwest in Washington, D.C. was notified that defendant had arrived in Miami and was looking for his suitcases. DEA agents arranged for a controlled delivery of the suitcases to the defendant. The next day, defendant and his son, this is the second time I've ever heard me referred to as his son. But seriously, make no mistake, I don't have mommy and daddy issues. I didn't have a mommy and daddy. How could I have mommy and daddy issues? How could I have mommy and daddy issues? Picked up the suitcases in Miami. As they were leaving, agents arrested defendant after he admitted that the suitcases belonged to him. Defendant confessed that he had been trafficking drugs from Miami to Detroit for several months. A consensual search of defendant's home produced an additional $225,000 in cash. Yes, my mother knew. She knew I was being used to traffic narcotics. I would always go with him, just me and him. Big blue duffel bag. She know what I'm talking about. We'd have a big blue Nike duffel bag with us, and we'd go to these different locations, different people's houses, and drop off stuff. My stepfather was a cruel, and I don't know if he's still alive, he probably is, but he's a cruel, cruel man who abused me. I watched him beat my mother relentlessly. I watched him terrorize my mother. He terrorized me. He would come up with the cruelest punishments for me, and then if he just felt like beating me, she wasn't gonna stop him. So these two took turns, beating me, abusing me, and torturing me. They even got my little brother to bully me. He just would beat me. What those around me didn't know, and people really don't ever know about me, is that I started healing when I was a wee lad. When they'd tell me to go clean myself up after a beating or abuse or some sort of torture, it'd be me in the mirror. I'd talk to myself, build myself up from what they just tried to tear down. So I got real good at endurance. I got real good at turning shit into shine. And my mother would beat me sometimes too. Later in life, I asked, like, why were you beating me too? And she said, it was so he wouldn't beat you. That's what her reason was. They used to lock me in closets, terrorize me. My mother, if I had a bad dream, she would beat me. If my stepfather got mad, she would beat me if he didn't. One time, I think I was 10. Me and my brother were jumping on the beds. We had, 2 twin beds in one room, and we had toys, and we had painted our underwear, the tighty whities. Wrestling was big back then, and I used to love Superfly Jimmy Snuka. We painted our underwear, and we're jumping bed to bed. Boom, 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 boom. And man, I fell through the window because behind the beds, at the head of the bed, there was a window. And I fell through it. Like the video you see where the person fall like this into the... into the wall. Yeah, so I fell through it. I remember my stepfather came in and he was mad, but he also, I think he laughed. I'm not really sure. Well, he wasn't gonna beat me, but my mother was. So she took me, tried to run from her. 10-year-old little Charlie, or stupid, whichever one they were calling me at that point, and sat on top of me in the living room, the dining area. Grown woman sitting on top of a 10-year-old and punched me in my chest so many times.
That's why paying attention matters. Because one caring adult noticing can change a child's life forever.
Nah, they just took sick pleasure in tormenting me. I was 14 when I got out of that, all on my own. We had fled to Atlanta. We no longer lived in Miami. We moved to Atlanta. I'll tell you the story of the last day he ever put his hands on me. I was 14 and I fought back.